The medical bay smelled wrong. That was the first thing Marcus noticed when consciousness dragged him back from the void. Not antiseptic, not sterile. Something floral and sharp, like crushed herbs mixed with ozone. His eyelids weighed 1,000 pounds, but he forced them open anyway. Blue. Everything was blue. The ceiling curved above him in a dome of translucent material that pulsed with bioluminescent patterns. The light reminded him of jellyfish he'd seen once in an aquarium back on Earth, before everything went to hell. A face appeared above him. Not human. Definitely not human. She had 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern across her face, each one a different shade of violet. Her skin was pale gray, smooth as porcelain, and when she leaned closer, he saw that tiny scales caught the light along her cheekbones. No nose, just 2 small slits above a mouth that was almost human except for the way it curved just a bit too wide. "You are awake," she said, and the words came out in perfect English, despite the fact that her mouth barely moved. Some kind of translator, he figured. Had to be. Marcus tried to sit up, but pain lanced through his chest like someone had driven a spike through his sternum. He gasped and fell back against whatever he was lying on. It felt like gel, conforming to his body shape. "Do not move," the alien said, placing a hand on his shoulder. Her fingers were long and delicate, with 6 digits instead of 5. "Your injuries were extensive. The regeneration process is incomplete. Where am I?" His voice came out as a rasp. His throat felt like sandpaper. "The medical frigate Luminara. You have been unconscious for 6 of your days." She moved away from him, her body fluid in a way that suggested her joints didn't quite work like human ones. She wore something between a robe and a bodysuit, deep purple with silver threading that seemed to move on its own. 6 days. Marcus closed his eyes and tried to remember. The colony. The attack. They'd come out of nowhere, ships appearing like holes torn in space itself. The Krellians didn't take prisoners. Everyone knew that. They'd glassed 3 human settlements already, turned them into radioactive wastelands for reasons no one understood. He remembered the evacuation alarm, remembered grabbing his emergency kit and running for the shelters, remembered the ceiling collapsing, the weight of debris crushing him into the floor, remembered thinking this was it. This was how Marcus Webb died, 43 years old and alone, buried under the ruins of Outpost Delta 7. "How am I alive?" he asked. The alien returned to his side, holding something that looked like a tablet made of frosted glass. "Your distress beacon continued transmitting. We intercepted it during a patrol sweep. When we arrived, the Krellian attack force had already departed. You were the only survivor we detected. The only survivor. 2,000 people lived on Delta 7. Families, children. The Rodriguez twins had just celebrated their 5th birthday. Marcus had given them a toy rocket that actually flew. "Hey," the alien said softly. "Breathe. You must breathe." He hadn't realized he'd stopped. His chest heaved as he dragged air into his lungs, and tears burned hot trails down his temples. The alien didn't move away. Instead, she did something unexpected. She took his hand. Her skin was cool and smooth, and her grip was gentle but firm, grounding. "I am Lyra," she said. "I am the chief medical officer aboard this vessel. You are safe here." "Marcus," he managed. "My name is Marcus." "Marcus," she repeated, and somehow the way she said it made it sound like music. "I need to tell you something. Something important." He looked at her, at those 4 violet eyes that seemed to hold depths he couldn't fathom. "What?" "When we pulled you from the debris, you were clinically dead. Your heart had stopped. Your lungs had collapsed. There was a metal beam through your abdomen." Lyra's eyes didn't leave his face. "By all measures of human physiology, you should not have been recoverable. But you saved me anyway. We tried. We used every technique we knew. Our medical technology is advanced, but bringing someone back from true death is difficult even for us." She paused, and something flickered across her alien features. If he didn't know better, he'd call it wonder. "You fought us every step of the way. Your body refused to accept the end." Marcus didn't understand. "I don't remember any of that." "No, you would not. You were unconscious." "But Marcus, listen to me." Lyra leaned closer, her hand tightening slightly on his. "When we had you on the surgical platform, when we were working to restart your heart, you gripped my hand. You were dead, no brain activity, no heartbeat, nothing. But your hand found mine, and you held on so tight you left marks." She turned her hand over, showing him 4 small bruises on her palm, each one perfectly round where his fingers had dug in. "That's impossible," Marcus whispered. "Yes," Lyra agreed. "It should be. But humans continue to defy what we understand about biology and consciousness. This is not the first time we have witnessed such things. There are stories among those who work with human patients. Stories of inexplicable resilience. Of people who survive injuries that should be fatal. Of patients who wake from comas when they hear a loved one's voice. Of soldiers who keep fighting with wounds that should have shut down their bodies instantly." She released his hand, but didn't move away. "There is something in your species that refuses to surrender. Something that holds on, even when the body has given up. We have a word for it in my language, but the translator renders it as stubbornness. But that is not quite right. It is more than stubbornness. It is defiance. It is will made manifest." Marcus stared at the ceiling, processing this. "I don't feel defiant. I feel broken." "You are broken," Lyra said bluntly. "Your body is healing, but the wounds inside will take longer. You lost everyone you knew. That is not something that regenerates like flesh and bone. Then why did I fight so hard to come back to this?" "That," Lyra said, "is a question only you can answer." They sat in silence for a moment. The medical bay hummed around them with alien technology, keeping him alive, knitting his body back together cell by cell. Marcus thought about the hand gripping Lyra's even as his heart lay still. What had driven that? What instinct ran so deep that it operated beyond death itself? "The Krellians are still out there," he said finally. "Yes, they'll hit more colonies, likely. Then I can't stay broken." Marcus turned his head to look at her. "How long until I can walk?" Lyra's eyes widened slightly, all 4 of them. "You nearly died less than a week ago. Full recovery will take months. How long until I can walk?" He repeated. She studied him for a long moment, then made a sound that might have been a laugh or a sigh. 4 days. Maybe 3 if you insist on being foolish. I insist." "Of course you do." Lyra stood, smoothing her robe. "Very well. We will begin physical rehabilitation tomorrow. But Marcus, understand this. Your body fought to survive. Do not dishonor that fight by pushing yourself into an early grave." "I won't," he promised. "But those people on Delta 7 fought too. They just didn't win. Someone needs to make sure the Krellians pay for that. Revenge is a poor foundation for healing." "Maybe." Marcus closed his eyes, suddenly exhausted. "But it's what I've got right now." He felt Lyra's hand on his forehead, cool and gentle. "Then I will make sure you're strong enough to carry it. Rest now. Tomorrow we begin." As consciousness slipped away again, Marcus thought about that hand gripping in the dark. About the part of him that refused to let go, even when everything else had shut down. About the human capacity to endure, to persist, to look at impossible odds and spit in their face. The aliens had a word for it. Stubbornness, defiance, will made manifest. He'd heard another word for it back on Earth, before the Krellians. Before humanity took to the stars and learned, they were far from alone in the universe. Before everything changed, the word was hope. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough.